This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Friday, November 17th, 2006, and this is episode number 180 of Walt Disney World Today. I'm Matt Hochberg from MGMstudios.org. On the show today, we've got the king of shameless plugs. It's Len Testa of the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World. Welcome, Len.
Matt, where was I from?
Touringplans.com.
In what?
Which is, of course, the home of the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World.
The number 2 selling travel book in the world, I might add. Thanks so much for having me on. It's good to get away from touringplans.com to chat with you guys today.
But speaking of shameless plugs, one of our listeners emailed me and told me that they had no idea that I had more than one website. So while we're doing shameless plugs, I also run rockandrollcoaster.com and towerofterror.org. So thank you, Stacy, for alerting me to that. I hate you, Newell. Razzle Dazzle, it's Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Welcome, Mike.
Hi, Matt.
And the inspiration for some of the corpses in the Haunted Mansion attraction, it's Mike Scopa of MousePlanet.com. Welcome, Mike.
Boy, Len, are you ready? Smile, hug, look at the
camera. Hold your breath.
And say, cheese. Little did they realize back then. Take it away.
They were making memories. Making memories.
No, that's it.
Making memories. Taking pictures.
That's it.
Oh, why do I do that? Matt, you got to stop me.
We gotta get a mute button on here.
Today's show's podcast opening came from the pre-show at Journey Into Your Imagination at the Imagination Pavilion in Future World in Epcot. It was an old pre-show. It's no longer there. So this was a podcast opening from the past.
And also on the show tonight is Brian and Barb Bennett of MousePlanet.com, and they also run MouseMemories.com, which is a great site for scrapbooking. Welcome, Brian and Barb.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you. Great to be here.
That's what we try to tell people. Today we're talking about scrapbooking, and scrapbooking is a major thing going on in the Disney community. And Brian, why don't you tell us about the scrapbooking industry? Because years ago, scrapbooking was something that my grandma would do, when she went to the Grand Canyon. But today, it's absolutely exploded.
You're absolutely right. My wife Barbara actually got into this hobby several years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, and I really thought it was just a matter of taking pictures, as the kids were growing up and throwing them in a photo album and all that. But as you point out, it's really turned into a major industry. And in fact, it's gotten so big that I left my job in the auto industry 3 years ago to join Barb running this business. So we're enjoying it very much. But scrapbooking is a very big thing. Barb, can you tell us a little bit more about the early history of scrapbooking and where we are now?
Well, scrapbooking has been around forever. As you mentioned, your grandmother was scrapbooking, and my mother had old albums of some high school events and things like that. But scrapbooking in the current form is really, really different than it had been. In the early 90s, it really started to come on, and it became a strong hobby, and Creative Memories is the company that really kind of was leading that charge. And since then, hundreds of other companies have joined in, and the industry just keeps growing exponentially every year.
Now, let's talk a little bit about scrapbooking for the Disney person. What do those kind of, this has its own little segment of the industry, and it's not that little, in fact.
It certainly does, and it's actually really one of the biggest segments of the industry, but the reason for that is that the Disney parks are some of the most photographed places in the world. When families go on vacation, they come home. There was a study done a few years ago, and they said most families come home with at least 22 rolls of film. Now, that was before we all went digital, and now it's much worse. Now we come home with 400, 500 pictures that we want to preserve every memory that we had while we were on our vacation.
Let me ask the guys. I know my girlfriend scrapbooks. Me, of course, manly men don't scrapbook.
Well, that's not true.
Come on, Barb. Manly
I know
men.
a few.
Len, back me up.
I've been known to wield a mean pair of scissors. It's
yeah.
Oh, Len.
But I'm really secure. I'm really comfortable with myself, Matt. Maybe you're just. I'm a little bit older than you, so I can understand. You're kind of feeling your way. You might But it's okay, Matt. Everyone feels that way once in a while. Go ahead. There's no reason to be ashamed.
We're talking about Disney scrapbooking, right?
What is this show about again? It's okay to have those feelings, Matt. So the scrapbooking. So you guys got into what sort of things do you offer? Do you offer like the cool stickers, the borders, and what are some of the more popular items?
Wow, we have hundreds and hundreds of Disney scrapbooking items that we carry on our website and in our new warehouse that we're going to have a grand opening for coming out.
You have a warehouse?
We do.
Really? Fabulous.
Really close to Walt Disney World property, so it's a great side trip.
Awesome.
You know, it's funny because a lot of people start a web business out of a spare bedroom, and frankly, that's exactly what we did.
Tell us about Mouse Memories, Brian.
Well, Barb actually started the business back in 2000, and the point of the business was to actually do custom albums. We weren't planning on selling any products at all. What we were planning on doing is selling services, and what people would do under that plan was send us their pictures, and then Barb or other artists that we had under contract would take those photographs and put together the custom albums and then ship them back to the customer. As it worked out, Barb started buying various products because she had to have them on hand to do those custom albums, and then the idea came about, well, why not try to sell the products since we have to have it here on hand anyway? And so the idea of actually putting together a retail sales website came out of that back in the summer of 2000, and we actually had our first sale back in September of 2000.
Wow! And then since then, it's just taken off like a traditional internet startup kind of thing.
Yeah, we just keep growing and growing and adding more products, and some really great manufacturers jumped on the Disney licensing a few years ago, and they've just been bringing out tons of really awesome stuff for the last several months.
You know, I'm intrigued by Len's question. What are like some give me like the top 5 things people buy when they come to your site? What are the most popular things?
Well, we have papers, Disney licensed papers, a lot of them with Disney characters or things on them that are related to park attractions, things like that are very popular. Stickers are incredibly popular with the licensed characters on them. And they're great because people use them for all sorts of things. They put them in their scrapbook albums, or they'll put them on a lampshade in their child's bedroom, or they'll do all sorts of things. So they really carry over beyond the scrapbooking industry.
Who's the most famous character, or not famous but most popular character that you dish out over there? People,
Mr. Smee.
Mr. Smee.
No, sorry about that. And Mike is not Belle either, but I think probably Mickey has to still win.
The princesses are very popular. And something we've noticed is that where you would expect there to be a lot of photographs taken of a given character, for example, characters that show up at the Disney character meals, not surprisingly, those are the characters that we sell a lot of product for. Chip and Dale are two characters that there are very, very few products available, and we sell what we have like hotcakes.
Do you have any Scopa Towers stickers?
I think that product hasn't been created quite yet.
So where do you guys get these things? Does Disney create these things and you guys are...
Yeah.
Disney licenses them to several different manufacturers that are working with them, and we basically have just become a retailer working with those manufacturers.
So you're like the one-stop shop for them?
Exactly. I was so frustrated because you guys know Brian and I were at Walt Disney World all of our life, even though we lived in Michigan. We tried to spend weeks and weeks there every year, and I had so many pictures, and it was really annoying to me to have to do a Meeting Mickey page with the same 2 stickers every time. And we started looking, and we really found that there are hundreds and hundreds of products out there, and putting them in one place makes people have the opportunity to pick which ones they really like.
Mm-hmm. So why don't you guys, because I obviously have an antiquated view of, scrapbooking, sell me on scrapbooking here. What do you guys think is the real catch to it? The attraction to the whole endeavor?
Well, I think we took our pictures at the time we took them because there was something in there that we wanted to remember. Some snapshot of time, some snapshot of a place, some memory that we wanted to capture. And then what happens is they either sit in a hard drive on our computer and we never look at them again, so we're trying to clean out files, or we print them and then we sit them in a box and they don't go anywhere because we don't dig through the box to look at them. So to me, the attraction is getting those pictures out, getting them into an album where they're going to be looked at, they're going to be enjoyed, My children have albums from babyhood, their childhood, that they'll get out those things and look at them all the time. And I remember this, and I remember that, and that was fun. We had a great time doing that. So
Now,
to me, it's getting those pictures where
Look
you
at
can
your
see
hair.
it.
What about your shorts?
Yeah, we do a little bit of that too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's obligatory, I think. So.
I do have to share one little story. When Barbara and I went on our honeymoon down here at Walt Disney World back in 1989, I was doing the Disney Dweeb thing, and I was going around taking pictures of the castle, and taking pictures of the front of the Peter Pan ride, and taking pictures of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and all that kind of good stuff.
And I was so annoyed.
Yeah, Barb was horribly annoyed because here we were on our honeymoon, the first trip that we actually went together, and where were the pictures of us together at dinner at Cinderella's Royal? Well, actually, it was back then. It was called King Stephen's Banquet Hall. You might remember. But why in the world was I taking pictures of the stuff and not us?
Instead of her.
Instead of her.
Exactly.
There
I'm
you
glad
go.
you understand.
Well,
My wife has said that enough times that I think I understand. I'm not really.
well, over the years, though, I've really taken a look at the photographs I've taken, and except for times when I'm specifically taking pictures for Mouse Planet for one of my photo tours or something, I'll tell you what, almost every picture I take has one of the boys or Barbara or all of us enjoying each other and our company at the park. And that's really the thing that makes it precious to me, because 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I'll be able to look back and remember the times we spent together as a family, and without the scrapbooks, that won't be possible. Mr. Scopa,
Yes, sir.
you remember back in 1994?
You remember before photography was invented? We had to carry around clay tablets full of our memories.
That's right.
During the Fred Flintstone era. Actually, what I was going to say is that I remember reading Mike Scopa's 1994 trip report, and a moment he spent with his son running from Wilderness Lodge all the way over to Fort Wilderness Campground and back. And maybe you wouldn't have had a camera because you guys were out running that day, but just that mind picture of a time spent with someone in the family is the kind of thing I'm talking about capturing in these albums.
Yeah, I think, Brian, also when you talk about trip reports, and Barbara talked about this too, we are so involved with the PC world now that we do trip reports and we put them online, and we maybe put them on some community bulletin board. But it would be nice to take those written words, printing them out, putting them in a scrapbook, also having the photographs, and then embellishing that with the appropriate stickers in the appropriate spot. And I think that it's nice to be able to once in a while just not have to pull up to a keyboard to look at something like that, but to just reach for a book, sit back in a nice chair, and just flip through the pages and say, oh yeah, remember when Mike and I ran to the Magic Kingdom. Actually, he got nervous that day. I actually ran into the Magic Kingdom at about 6 o'clock in the morning, and he thought I was going to be shot down dead. And we came back, but yeah, I remember that.
Now,
Well, those are the kinds of moments we're talking about capturing, and with the products that we have available, the Disney community that's out there. I really wish more Disney people that are doing scrapbooking knew about us, because there is so much stuff that is available to them if they took a look at our catalog. And we have over 4,000 products now. I wouldn't say all those are Disney. I would say maybe about 40% of that is Disney product, or Disney, what I call Disney-inspired product. That's a product that's not necessarily licensed by Disney, but it was designed by the designer to look like Disney. Maybe it has Mickey colors in the design or something like that. And it's the kind of products that you could use in those scrapbooks to capture those memories.
Now, you mentioned earlier something about a warehouse. Do you have a grand opening coming up, Brian?
Yeah. When we first moved here to Florida, because we actually started MouseMemories.com up in Michigan, and we moved down here to Florida back in 2003 and moved into our first warehouse location, which we grew out of in the last several years. So we're moving into a space that's double the size of what we had. We're actually sitting in that warehouse right now as we're doing this broadcast, and we're in the process of moving those 4,000 plus products from the old warehouse to the new one, and trying to get them organized and all. In the meantime, we're still handling orders and all that, which is kind of exciting. But coming up on December 9th, which is a Saturday coming up. In fact, it's the during the Mouse Fest activities, just by coincidence. We are going to open our warehouse to the public for the very first time. We've always allowed customers that want to come in and just look around on an appointment basis, but this will be the first time we've actually had specified hours where people could just walk in, shop, and hopefully see them again next time they're in town.
Wow, that sounds great. It certainly sounds a lot better than the Unofficial Guide's facilities, which I believe are Saddam Hussein's old presidential palace.
It's the ones that haven't been blown up. That's exactly right.
It lends
Well, that
outsourcing.
explains why it takes so long.
Exactly. That's what you're trying to. Ding!
Yeah, Newell was a little slow on that one.
Yeah, that's all right.
Well, of course, Brian and Barb's site is at mousememories.com, and Brian, you also write for mouseplanet.com, right?
Yes, I was involved with some of the first people that started Mouse Planet back in 2000, and I actually merged in my website that I started 4 years earlier, and in fact have been working with Mouse Planet ever since. I did take a short time off when we moved down here to Florida because I really needed to spend some time directly with Mouse Memories, helping to get the business really to take off. But I'm back now and writing about once a month and having a good time with that.
That's great. And, well, that's it for us today. If you want to find older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the Walt Disney World Today website at wdwtoday.com. You can also email us at questions@wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, Mike Newell, Barb, and Brian Bennett, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.